Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a really dramatic story from an ancient text to try and answer a huge question about who we are and the choices we all face.
I mean, think about that phrase. It's incredibly powerful. Kind of chilling, right? What does it actually mean to commit yourself so completely to doing the wrong thing that you've basically sold yourself to it? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we're going to break down the story of a king whose name has pretty much become a synonym for pure wickedness, King Ahab. So, who exactly was this guy? Well, the story doesn't just say he was bad. It sets him up as the absolute worst. All right, so we're talking about King Ahab. He was the ruler of the northern kingdom of Israel for about 22 years, and the source text, it pulls no punches. It says flat out that he did more evil than all the kings who came before him. That's a heck of a reputation.
So, why was he so bad? Well, here's the rap sheet. He married Jezebel, a foreign princess, which was a big deal. He started worshiping her god, Baal, and he didn't just do it in private. He went all in, building a temple and an altar right in the capital city. He even put up a sacred pole for another goddess. The text sums it up by saying he provoked God more than any other king before him.
Now, if you really want to understand Ahab's character, it all comes down to this one single story. The incident with Naboth's vineyard. So the story kicks off with what sounds like a pretty reasonable offer, right? Ahab sees this vineyard right next to his palace. He wants it for a vegetable garden, and he offers the owner, a guy named Naboth, a trade for a better vineyard or just cold hard cash. Seems like a simple business deal.
But Naboth says no, and his reason is the key to this whole story. For him, this wasn't just land. It was his family's inheritance, passed down through generations, a sacred trust from God that, according to their laws, you just didn't sell.
And how does the most powerful man in the kingdom handle being told no? He throws a tantrum. A full-on, childish tantrum. He goes home, flops onto his bed, faces the wall, and just sulks. He's powerless against this sacred law, and that frustration is what lets his wife, Jezebel, step into the picture.
And Jezebel's plan is just chillingly methodical. First, she forges the king's seal on letters to the town elders, making it all look official. Then she sets up this public religious ceremony and gives Naboth a seat of honor, making it all seem legit. Then she hires two liars to stand up and accuse Naboth of cursing God and the king, a crime punishable by death. And the final step, they drag Naboth out and kill him. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a cold-blooded, state-sponsored murder for a vegetable garden.
So with Naboth out of the way, Ahab goes to take his prize. But as he's walking through his new vineyard, he runs into the one person he probably didn't want to see, the prophet Elijah.
And Ahab's first words say everything. "So you have found me, my enemy." He knows. He knows he's been caught, and he sees this prophet not as a man of God, but as his personal enemy. You can just feel the tension.
And there it is. Elijah just drops the hammer. He connects it all back to that core idea. This isn't just about one bad act. It's about a whole life of them. You didn't just do evil, Elijah tells him. You have sold yourself to it.
And the judgment that follows isn't some vague warning. It is terrifyingly specific. Elijah says that in the exact same spot where dogs licked up Naboth's blood, dogs are going to lick up your blood too. And the curse doesn't stop there. It extends to his whole family and to Jezebel.
Okay, so right here, when you think you know exactly how this is going to end, the story takes a wild turn. Faced with this horrifying future, the wicked king does something no one saw coming.
Now, to really get what Ahab does next, we need a quick culture check. In those days, if you were truly devastated or sorry, you showed it. Tearing your clothes was a sign of intense grief. Wearing sackcloth, this really coarse, scratchy fabric, was a symbol of deep mourning. And fasting, that was about denying yourself physically to show you were spiritually broken. These were the ultimate public signs of humility. And what's absolutely amazing is it works. God sees Ahab do all this genuine, public act of humbling himself, and tells Elijah, "Did you see that? Because he's done this, I'm not going to bring the disaster I promised during his lifetime. I'll delay it. It'll happen to his son's generation instead."
So what do we do with that? Does one moment of genuine remorse just wipe the slate clean after a lifetime of wickedness?
Well, let's see how the story ultimately ties this all together.
First, let's go back to our main question. What does it mean to sell yourself to evil? It means you're not acting blindly. You know what you're doing is wrong. You know there will be consequences. But you do it anyway, because your own greed and your own desires are more important to you.
And here is the absolute key point. Ahab's humility. It was real, but it was temporary. It didn't stick. He got his reprieve, but it didn't change who he was. A few years later, he goes right back to his old ways, ignores another prophet who warns him not to go to war, and marches straight into the battle where he's killed, and yeah, the dogs licked up his blood, just like Elijah said.
So when you zoom out, Ahab's whole story really highlights this fundamental choice we all have. And to really drive the point home, the text contrasts his life with another path, one described powerfully in the book of Romans.
And this lays it out so clearly. You have two choices. On one side, you can become an instrument of injustice. That's the path of Ahab, where your life is driven by your own selfish wants. But on the other side, there's the path of becoming an instrument of righteousness, where you offer yourself to a higher purpose.
In the end, this whole ancient drama about a king and a vineyard, it boils down to this very personal, very timeless choice. And it leaves us with the question. It's not just for a king, it's for every single one of us. Instrument of injustice or instrument of righteousness. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.